Good evening, everybody. We're going to call the meeting of July 11th, 2019 to order. Ben, you take the roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Appletani.
Here.
Council members Achara.
Here.
Donlin.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Here, everybody please rise for a pledge of allegiance and then please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer thereafter. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The notice requirement for the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the annual notice was sent to the Asbury Park Press, Coaster, posted in Town Hall, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on December 27th, 2018. There are two fire exits, one to the back of the room on my left will take you out to the front parking lot, and then one to my right, and that also will take you out to the front parking lot. If you have a cell phone, please turn the ringer off. You can keep it on if you need to take pictures or anything like that. If you have to make a call, kindly go out into the hallway. We do tape every meeting, and your calls interfere with our audio. Okay? At this time, I'd like to start with council members. John, you have anything for us tonight?
No report.
No? Marge?
Yes, I just wanted to mention that the Deal Lake Watershed Alliance is having their annual fundraiser. It's on July 27th from 4 to 7:30 p.m. If you go on the Facebook page, you can RSVP. It's $60 per person. They have an auction and things like that. It's at a beautiful house on the lake. So learn more about that. Should be a great night.
Yeah, I got my invitation said $75. Trying to shake down the mayor. Dave, you have anything?
No report.
Rob?
Just the planning board meeting this Monday night. 2 items on the agenda for memorialization, and then deal in 35.
Mike?
No report.
Morty?
No report.
I just want to say welcome to our new members, Marge and Dave here for joining us again in their first official meeting, going through the agenda and doing business. So I think good things for you guys coming up, and welcome aboard again.
Thank you.
Okay, this time. The purpose of the public portion is to solely ask questions, understand resolutions, and vouchers that appear on the agenda is not an occasion for a public hearing on an ordinance. All questions not related to an item on this agenda should be asked during the public comments portion at the conclusion of the meeting. So typically we'll go through the consent agenda, and then at the end, if you have questions, anything germane to the township, we'll open it up to you. Okay? So tonight, anybody have anything, by the way, that's on the resolutions? If you have any questions about that, come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. About the resolution, come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Well, I don't really have a question yet. I was
Then
wondering.
have a seat, and we'll get to you at the end of the meeting.
Well, I was wondering
Okay.
if you could maybe just
Wait.
briefly
Just Jackie,
explain that.
Jackie, we know who you are, but for the record, could you
Oh,
put your
Jackie
name in?
Wenzel, 610 Deal Road. I was just wondering, when we spoke a lot about transparency going forward, I do find sometimes when you get in here, you don't have enough time to read them. So instead of just giving the resolution number, is it possible to just give a quick synopsis on what they are?
Yeah, well, they're on the website.
Thank you.
Put
I know,
Since
but
Tuesday.
I know, but I don't think people I know it's your office, so you're around it every day, but I think everyone who works outside of this business, they don't get to read it every day.
So,
And since you open it for us to listen and approve it, I just think if we could have just a quick
Yeah,
We
overview.
do that with the individual ordinances, but with the group ordinances, we typically do it all at once.
yeah, if you want to go through, I mean.
Well, what's a group
basically, M1
ordinance?
Jackie, we're not going to argue with them. I'm going to tell you what they are.
Okay.
So M1 is
Should
basically
I
the
sit
meeting.
down?
Yeah, have a seat. The minutes from last month's meeting, basically, that's what M1 is. Okay, so we're approving that because that already happened, and that's in this packet here. Okay. Okay, so 19111 to accept the performance guarantee for work on 203 Grant Avenue, Samuel J. Sutton. So a guy's putting up a performance guarantee to do some work there, build a house. Mike, what's he doing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, 19112, authorize a reduction of a performance guarantee for blocks 35 and all these different lots. That's the enclave, stage 1. So as they perform certain duties, then you can release or reduce their bond because they've met that juncture. Okay, so that's what that's about. That goes on. 19113, the fireworks, we got to pay them for the fireworks, right? Which a lot of this money, by the way, that we're authorizing comes out of the community celebration fund that we raise every year. So it didn't really cost us anything. All right, 19114, it's a 30-day extension for a dumpster At Bryan Avenue, it behooves us all to have a dumpster stay there for another 30 days while they're cleaning out this house. We don't want that thrown to the curb. It's easier this way. 19115, to release the minutes of the closed meetings that we had back in June. That way everybody can see what we talked about, because it's transparency that we're after. Right?
That's on our website.
It's all on the website. Huh? 124, authorize the assignment of developers agreement for the following. This is for Bound Road. So we're doing that one tonight, right? Is this
It's up to you guys if
Yeah.
you want to pull it. I mean, it's on for approval.
This is the fellow that
This is
came
the
in?
gentleman that came tonight, correct?
Okay. Yeah, I have no problem with it, right?
Yes, leave it on. And
Yeah, okay. So gentleman's building 2 homes on Bound Road, a lot that he bought, 2 approved lots, building lots, and he needs to present a developer's agreement so he can put up his bonds, etc. That's what that's about. I'll go through the vouchers and, of course, the resolutions one by one when that comes up. Somebody please offer the consent agenda and the resolutions.
I'll offer the consent agenda.
Resolutions?
second.
Second? Dave, 2nd?
I'll second.
Do ordinance.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members
Oh,
Achara.
that was, may I ask? I apologize. I'm sorry. So, just as I'm talking to him, so the developer's agreement was for the gentleman that was there in the
Correct.
workshop.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Did you say he didn't have all the information in?
No, that's not for the developer's agreement.
No, that's the.
He's got
Once the development's agreement is approved, then he has to provide information that he was trying to rush this
Just
thing
Yes.
through, but he didn't provide us
Got it.
that.
Okay, I
Get that
heard you.
part done.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. Also for individual action, we have vouchers. This is our payment list in the amount of $2,287,518.11. Yes. Someone please offer. Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, except those I may have a conflict on. Okay, for individual resolutions, we have 19116. This is to authorize the purchase of 3 2019 Dodge Durangos for the use by our police department. So we put this off last year, and now we're adding them to this year's budget. It's all covered in there. Off the Cranford Police Cooperative Pricing, so they get the best possible deal. Identifier 47 CP CPS from Carmen Dodge, Inc. Someone please offer.
I'll offer resolution 918.
I'll be very happy. Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, and 19117, authorize the amendment to the following professional services contract. So this is our attorney, Martin J. Arbus, a firm of Arbus Maybrook Good LLC, to increase to $5,100. And also for Michael R. Dupont Esquire, the firm of McKenna Dupont Higgins, for a decrease of $15,000. They used to do our tax appeals, and we're doing them more in-house now, so that's why we decreased him and went to Marty's firm. See, his firm saved us $9,900 by doing it. Someone please offer.
I'll offer resolution 19-117.
And second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, 19118, authorize the tax collector to place a lien on block 5.02, lot 19, which is 30 Wallace Avenue, to abate a public health nuisance. Okay, so we do that, so we make sure we do any cleanup or whatever there, we get reimbursed for it, because we're trying to make sure it's not a public health nuisance. Someone please offer.
I'll offer 19-118.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, only 38 more of these to go. No, I'm kidding. 19119, authorize the renewal of a contract for a Code Red emergency notification system with ONSOV at a total cost of $12,239 for the 1-year period, July 22nd, 2019 through July 21st, 2020. Someone please offer.
I'll offer 19-119.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, and that's our emergency notification system. 19120, authorize a professional service contract for engineering services with Gregory Blash. Okay, I'm going to hold 19120. Hang on. I'm not going to do engineering tonight. We'll figure it out ourselves. 19121, authorize a consolidation of various bond ordinances totaling $15,550,000 into one consolidated issue. So this is all our old bonds anticipation notes, things that we had short-term agreements on, or short-term finance arrangements, going to a long-term finance and reduces our total cost. The rate's much lower, and we coupled that with the county system. So we're in with their bond pooling. So it gives us a AAA rating and a AAA bonding percentage, everything good about it. And it extends the life of the loan also. Okay, so it's good for everybody. Someone please offer.
Offer 19-121.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes. 122. Approve of Chapter 159 budget amendment for 2018 Community Development Block Grant in the amount of $160,227,000. So we do a 159 because we got this money in now. We wanted to make sure it was included into the budget that we had approved already, so we're able to accept it that way. So it's a good thing. Somebody please offer.
I'll offer 19-122.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes, 19123, authorize a professional service contract with the Groundwater Environmental Services to perform remediation service at Ocean Glades Condominium Development. So this is an old property we acquired through an in-rem foreclosure, didn't cost us anything there, but it had some environmental issues, and we're obligated to fulfill our COA count there, the balance of our COA there. So it's important that we get this remediated, cleaned up, and the site reevaluated. So, and it's also could be potentially part of the land swap if we get it done in time. So we need somebody to offer that services with them. It's a $110,000 contract to get the study done and to see where we're going. Someone please offer.
I'll offer 19-123.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes, in 19125, authorize the tax collector to issue refund credit to those taxpayers who have received a successful state tax appeal. So typically state tax appeal, usually the bigger taxpayers, the commercial ones will always automatically file a tax appeal, and it goes to the state level before they either win or lose, and typically sometimes the ones that win, we have to do a refund on that. So that's for. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes, and tonight we have for introduction, which Margie can offer, Rob will second because he knows how to close one out. Or we'll just do an introduction.
Yes.
So Rob can offer, Margie can second, I'm sorry. Introduction, ordinance number 2320. Ben, would you read the title, please?
Sure. An ordinance amending Chapter 7 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Ocean entitled Property Maintenance and Housing.
Okay, so cleaning up our property maintenance and housing, just strengthen it more and make the community just a little bit better. Okay? Someone please introduce ordinance number 2320.
I'll introduce ordinance 2320.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes, and that will have its reading on public hearing.
August 1st.
August 1st. Is that what that is there?
Yep.
Look at you. You got really official here. Thank you. Also for introduction, ordinance 2325. Ben, would you read the title?
Sure. An ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the revised general ordinances prohibiting parking along portions of Beechwood Avenue.
So Beechwood, very tight street. It's probably less than 30 feet. It's in the West Allenhurst section of town on the southern part between Corlees and South Edgemere Drive. So some of those streets are so narrow that we have to prohibit parking on both sides, especially when we're picking up brush, snow plow, things like that. So we just want to make sure it's official. So someone please introduce ordinance 2325.
I'll introduce ordinance 2325.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes, and that too will have its public hearing on August 1st, right? At this time, does anybody from the public have anything germane to Ocean Township business? Please come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Yes.
Yes, it must come up though.
Good evening. David Weiner, 1216 Walnut Avenue, Wanamassa. First of all, our congratulations in order to the mayor on her appointment to a new job,
Thank you.
Edentown.
Oh, that was last year, but thank you.
Oh, it was, okay. I just want to let you know I'm the union rep assigned to that office, so,
Oh, are you?
you know, we might be seeing each other.
Oh, cool.
Per grievance?
I'm sorry.
Nothing. Sorry. Is it? Sorry.
Don't do that to old man. I'm hard of hearing.
That was more for Chris.
I get it. Regarding the planning board, a couple of questions. They are appointed by the council, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. They have bylaws?
They have bylaws. Marty?
I believe there are bylaws. I haven't looked at them in a very long time, so I'm not exactly sure now, but yes.
I believe they were adopted in 1990.
It's a while,
Does that sound
a while
right?
ago. Sounds
Okay.
about right. I don't know.
Do you know why they're no longer listed on the website of the township? They were removed. Does anybody know why?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but we could put them back on.
Yeah.
I would appreciate it if you did, but I'm just, they came off about a month or so ago.
Well, maybe during the reorg they weren't sure about the reappointments.
Nothing nefarious
No.
implied. Does the council consider the bylaws to be valid legally and viable legally,
Well,
or not?
Yeah, I mean, basically the bylaws are the planning board bylaws, so I think that would be more of a question for the planning board as opposed to the council. The bylaws are typically, I think, passed by the planning board themselves.
Don't they have to be approved by the council?
Well, given the fact that they were last done in 1990, I don't know, sitting here right now.
And could you, someone on the council, let me know in writing, preferably via email's fine, that you're Mr. I want to get his name right, Batiglieri?
Yeah.
That's right.
Got it right?
That's
Okay.
pretty good.
I've been working on it.
All right.
Could you or somebody who's ever applicable let me know the answer to my questions regarding the bylaws and the planning board that I've just put on the record in writing, preferably email's fine. We've emailed each other.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Second question: the township employees, are they in the state health benefit plan, or does the township have its own health benefit plan?
State.
Okay. Does the township have an insurance broker?
Broker?
Broker,
Not for health benefits.
not for health benefits.
No.
For non-health benefits,
Yes.
such as Aflac and stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
Okay. Whose witness are we now? I'm sorry. Come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
No, I also wanted to speak about the planning board because the last planning board meeting that I attended, they said they couldn't answer a question, and I should bring it to you directly. One of the questions were, we had a tree expert give testimony at the last meeting, and basically his conclusion was, and he was going to go back and test, but in an overall quick review, he pretty much said 3,700 of the trees were either diseased, dead, or dying.
I'm sorry. You had a tree expert, or they had a tree expert?
No, it's their tree expert that was
I thought you
paid.
said we. Okay. All right. Got it.
We had in the room.
I'm sorry.
Who are viewing. It's a tree expert, obviously. It's paid for by the developer, and I think every one of us who hire a specialist on our behalf are hoping they're doing everything in our best interest to make sure we reach our goals. In this particular case, obviously, the developer would like to, I guess, remove as many trees as possible. And I think also what's the concern is the fact that we do in the tree ordinance, the township, if trees are taken down, there is money to be paid unless they're dead or dying. So I found it seemed a little bit, I mean, he could have even just said like 2,000 trees, but to go right for the 3,700, which is almost every single tree on the lot, seemed extreme to me. I don't see that they're all dead and dying, and I think that's a matter of perception. I mean, we're all like living and dying at the same time. So, I mean, is the glass half full or half empty? So I had said that I really would like to see that the council, that the township hire their own tree expert to go in and look at the property and see if there's any trees that are coming down that we could actually receive some money for because they're not dead or dying.
Well, before we do that, I'm going to talk to our planner and engineer to see. I find it hard to believe that they would say, yeah, you're right, all 3,700 dead. There's no tree replacement money needed. I've never seen that before.
Usually we rely on
We
Mr. Hickens, who I believe, in addition to being a planner, I'm not sure, but I think he's a landscape architect.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to
He's
talk to
pretty
him
familiar.
first about it, Jackie. It sounds far-fetched that he may have, in his estimation, look, most of those trees are garbage. He may have said that. I watched some of the tape. Or he may have said maybe most of them were dead and dying. But I haven't seen him come in and say, okay, now we're looking for a waiver. We don't have to pay anything towards a tree replacement.
I think he said there was 37 trees or something like that.
Like 29 or 30, yeah, that could be saved out of, I mean, I don't have an exact count, but everyone's been throwing around 3750 as a number,
Well,
as a
let
general
me talk to
sweeping
Mr.
number.
Higgins first before, and then I'll see what the number, what he comes up with, what he thinks the tree replacement requirement may be.
Okay.
All right.
The other thing I wanted to mention is in the master plan. I know we've been redoing this master plan with zoning for several years, and now that we have a new council, I think a formal adoption of a new master plan it's been brought up, and I'm just wondering, in your conversations today, has there been any further discussion about that?
We're not going to discuss the master plan because frankly that's part of the litigation that you filed. And so I don't want the council here to be discussing the master plan. We've obviously argued that in litigation, and we've indicated the master plan gets amended, that becomes part of the master plan. So there are changes to the master plan numerous times. They're all available for people to look at, and that amends the master plan, just like the Constitution gets amended, that amends the master plan. So.
I know, but we're doing it in piecemeal here and there. I think the idea of a master plan, is to see the whole picture. And I think if we looked at the whole picture today, it would look very different than it did in 1990.
Okay.
So I know we spoke about it. I know if you don't want to discuss it because of the suit, but I do have one more thing about the 2303 ordinance, because that is the ordinance that is allowing this planning board to speed through the process. All of the the zoning changes are required for this project to move forward, and it's moving forward quickly.
Quickly, it's been on since 2015. I don't think that's quick. It's 2019.
Well, no, I mean the part of the planning board process is moving pretty quickly.
Think so? Yeah.
It feels that way, especially when you want to.
But you got to keep in mind
Okay.
that that ordinance was presented to the planning board.
Yeah, and frankly, again,
We
the
can't
ordinance
talk
is
about
being
that.
challenged by you, and I'm not here to discuss. I don't think the board members, the council members, should be discussing, the ordinance and your objections to the ordinance. We've gone through this.
Well, maybe
it's in
someone
litigation.
else here can get up and discuss it, because there are things about the ordinance that are in the favor of the community. Buffers, for example, have initially, when we gave them the right to move in a Wawa and to make a hotel and all these things that are really right in the backyard of many of our neighbors, there was buffering. So that was part of, we'll allow you to do this with this buffering. However, with the change with the jug handle, the urban jug handle, it's dramatically shifted things. So essentially right now the hotel is sitting on the buffer. So, and we've been told that and you don't see buffering any longer along Deal Road. So I think, even though it is a number, a hot number for our case, it is what we're proceeding forward with. And I think we can't ignore it, because there are things that, if there are things that have to be addressed in it in terms of our buffering, it's something we need to
has
discuss.
to
And
be
if you can't
addressed.
discuss it with me, you can discuss it
But
perhaps
that
with
would be
someone
at
else
the
in the
planning
room.
board anyway. We can't make the planning board at this time. So, in that application, I think you should put this buffering back in, or you should move. That's not the purview of the council. That's the purview of the planning board. So you need to go there.
No, but you put the buffer.
No, but
you
listen,
approved
hold
it based
Jackie,
on the buffer, correct?
Jackie, the township, regardless of whether it's this ordinance or any other ordinance, the township prepares an ordinance, sends it to the zoning board, they review it. We've gone through this before. It comes back to the council. We have the hearing, which we had, and they vote on an ordinance. Once the application is before the planning board, if there are changes and they're not doing what's set forth in the ordinance, if that is what happens, and it's done at the developer's suggestion, then they may have to request a variance. But the council doesn't get involved in that determination as to whether the planning board should grant a variance from whatever the ordinance states. That's the planning board's job.
I understand that, but when the council approved unanimously 2303, you read it, correct?
Sure.
I mean, everyone read it.
But
So you
again,
approved it based on the detail enclosed in the ordinance, correct?
Every ordinance that is voted upon by the council is read and is voted upon and approved based upon what's in there. Then when the application goes before the planning board or board of adjustment, they may say, well, we're looking for a variance from what the township had said should be in this zone. That's what the planning board does. They determine whether or not variances should be granted.
Yeah, but
So that's up to them.
perhaps without the buffering, you would have never approved it.
Well, that may be, but right now it's in the hands of the planning board.
So you have no power of that at this point.
Not
it's
related
in
to
your-
whether they grant a
The
variance.
power's in your hands and the people to go there, and they're going to have a comment section when they're done presenting their case. And they probably did at that moment when they presented their buffering. You could have stood up and commented, but at that time is when you have your chance.
Well, we
to
will
go and
have,
make
that
comment.
hasn't happened yet. We
Okay,
will.
okay. You'll
But the
have
thing
your
is, if
plenty of
you
time.
approved an ordinance based on the buffering,
Now they're
and they
asking for-
change everything, how can that be okay
they
with
haven't-
everyone?
You know what?
It's only-
That's just the way it is. The council passes an ordinance,
I
not
get
just
that,
this ordinance.
But they're not following it.
Well, that's up to the planning board. And then if somebody doesn't follow what is in the ordinance and someone objects to that and feels that the variance was inappropriately granted, then they can file an appeal from the planning board determination. Okay, that's the way it works. So again, every zoning ordinance in those books has the potential to have someone apply for a variance.
But then why doesn't
Okay.
it come back here?
It just doesn't. That's
The
the way the
variance is
system works.
granted at the board.
So if you're required to have in a residential zone a 50-foot setback, and somebody comes in and says, I want to do a 40-foot setback for the following reasons, it doesn't come back to the council and says, hey, this guy wants to do something different than what's in the ordinance.
But you approved it under those conditions.
Everything was approved under those conditions. 50-foot setback. You know what?
So it changes
doesn't pay to
it.
argue
Okay.
because I'm not going to convince you. But the bottom line is
It's not about arguing.
that's what the
It's
planning board
about
does.
what seems right. Okay. So they need variances now. That comes next, correct? I know you're not the planning board. They need variances now.
I have
that
no
created a
idea.
variance,
Okay.
I'm sure.
Now, Mayor, you have publicly stated, it was in the press, that you were going to negotiate these 17 acres. I know came up a lot during the election. Can you update us on where you're there? I know you mentioned cleaning up that property, but can you
So-
update us a little more?
Yeah, we're where we need to be until something happens with this application because it's a separate builder for the residential piece. That's the piece we're negotiating on. So he can't go any further until he owns the property. He's not going to buy the property until there's either an approval or not. So we're in a holding pattern. If they get the approval, he buys the property, we can continue our land swap.
But what's the incentive at that point if he has everything?
Well, like I told him, it's, we have pretty much a gentleman's agreement or we have the condemnation tool, which we'll use, and he understands that.
Because one of the thoughts I had was that perhaps we could, if they need these variances, which they need to do the urban jug handle and such, certainly I guess they need variances to take away the buffering, which I would highly discourage happen. I think someone has to stand up for the neighbors to this, who have been, homestead there for some time before this has come in. But could you use that as a leverage to not approve the variances unless the 17 acres are made available as open space? Because I think Monmouth Conservation Foundation certainly could buy that land, even if it's not a land swap. Perhaps those 17 acres could be purchased because we were offered money for some green acres. I mean, could that be
We're gonna
initiated
see-
in the plan?
Just so you know, when I make a land swap with them, regardless, I'm going to seek Green Acre funding annually for it anyway. It's what we do. It's how we bought the golf course. It's how we bought the pool club. It's how we bought all these things that we own.
Which we appreciate.
Yeah, so, that's going to happen anyway. But, yeah, I don't need to use that as leverage. We have pretty much an agreement that we're going to work on a land swap. How much depends on how much land we have to swap. And that's what we
Then I
talked
have one
about
more
today.
thing to request, sorry. I would like to request, and obviously I don't expect an answer now. The last time when we were at Stop and Shop fighting that, I know you had attended the meetings and you sat on the council, and there were times Mayor Larkin were there. I really think that you don't have to all show up. Maybe you take turns showing up, but I think it would be, lots of the community to see one of you there that you care at the outcome, because it does get sped through. We have a very clever attorney working on their behalf, and we feel often kind of vulnerable and no one is really speaking for us, and we have our time we can speak and then we can't. I'm forbidden to call Mr. Borelli. I can't speak to we're not allowed to speak to any of the planning board members. So we come to you because you are our elected council, and we're coming to you for help and for representation. And I think we need representation from one of you. at the planning board meeting, and I'd like to just publicly make that request.
Any one of us can sit in the audience here, but nobody can stand up and represent you from the council. It'd be a total conflict.
No, but
Yeah,
you,
and it's not only that.
instead of me filling you in on these details that obviously are
We
annoying
watched the
our
tapes.
attorney.
The difference is back when the Stop and Shop application was proceeding, we didn't have televised meetings. So now board members and the general public have the ability to sit down, watch television, or watch a YouTube and see what happened at the meeting. So they don't have to be there to do that. You want their support. These people on the council are not voting one way or another. They may have further involvement in the project, so they would not be involved in representing you, just like I've told you many times. They're not going to be representing you. I don't represent you individually. That you speak, you have a
Well,
certain
not me,
voice.
the community. I'm not.
Well,
it's
but
not
the
a Jackie
community,
issue.
the community is not one person. We've gone through this 100 times. The community is not one person or 100 people. It's a whole bunch of people with different viewpoints, and therefore you want us to represent your interests.
No, I want you to be aware of how these
Everybody's
meetings
aware
are
of what's-
managed. No, but you can watching it from home is not the same as being here.
Okay.
It isn't. I mean, you could. It's like,
Thank you.
It's like going to a live concert. I get it.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Except less exciting.
Tom, I think it's the same.
Anybody else have anything? Well, let's give this gentleman a chance. Yeah, you did. You're very
He
good.
was very nice, very polite.
I always defer to my seniors.
Oh. He can hear though.
I can't hear that.
He heard that.
Dennis Howlett, Holbrook Street. First of all, congratulations to the 3 returning members, or condolences, however you want it, and welcome to the new members. So, very nice meeting we had when the change of government went through. That was very impressive. I have a couple pretty disparate questions, but I'll do my best to stay in order. How much of Poplar Village that was ruined by Sandy is still there? How much of that is...
So it was 96 units.
Mhm.
So we tore down 64. There's 32 units still there.
So 1/3. Okay.
1/3.
And the land that the other 64 were
Yeah.
on.
So that 11 acres was returned to nature.
Okay. So is that the way it's going to stay?
Yep.
Is that a site for maybe some shade tree commission work or anything like that?
Yeah, they could. I mean, I think it's in its natural states. Good if they want to put some plantings there. It's wide open.
And that's part of the floodplain that is
Yep.
used for by Poplar Brook.
Right.
Okay. And how much of Poplar Village, the new one that's behind the post office, how many of those 64 units were replaced? Are there actually more units?
Well, there's 96 units there now.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So there's even more.
Yeah, so we
accommodated.
opened up a little more for affordable seniors.
And a lot of that was funded by FEMA. Is that correct?
Well, this
The
Rebuild?
property, the rebuild, yeah.
no
Not the rebuild, but
No.
the FEMA provide money for
the
the
demolition and
for
everything.
the demolition and the purchase of the balance of Poplar Brook that became natural.
Oh, really?
State, yeah.
Okay. Well, where did the money come from to rebuild or put up the
That
new
was
unit?
Right.
there's private somebody's operator that's running it, and they do state credit, tax credits and stuff. So
Yeah.
they have to
Plus-
adhere to certain state guidelines.
Mhm.
Even putting it there, the state approved that site over us putting it anywhere else or rebuilding it anywhere else
Okay.
to get
And
those tax credits.
In addition to that, the land that it was built on was actually owned by the township, and part of our
We own
process was to
777.
donate that land
Okay.
to allow that to be built.
Okay, good. And that's memorialized somewhere? I mean,
Yep.
I
Sure.
couldn't find it, so that's why I'm asking bothering you guys.
Okay, I'm sure it's memorialized somewhere.
Well, I
It's
mean,
in there.
it's a very interesting story, and I think people might want to know what the history of it is. And
Okay.
it seems like it's turned out for the best. It took a long time,
Yep.
but it turned out for the best. I'm assuming that the Super 8 motel that is down by the Asbury Circle has been, as it's been renovated, whatever was there before, has been an improvement to the town. I think it's been a
Yeah.
good thing. Does anybody know how that hotel is doing? Are they doing well?
Yeah, I saw the owners the other day. They said they're doing fine.
Yeah.
I mean, the cars are there. Now, it's summertime. I see cars there all
Right.
the time. But
Are they local owners?
yeah, actually, he just opened up the pharmacy also at Foodtown. So they own a couple of different businesses in the area. So they're local people.
Good. When somebody was talking about the tree remediation contribution in lieu of actually planting new trees, who has the authority to negotiate that number? And
Our planner,
The planner?
engineer, yeah, at the planning board, they do that. The planner
Yeah.
usually comes up with a number
Uh-huh.
in terms of a dollar figure and or the amount of trees. Ultimately, the planning board
Right.
can
approve.
accept or reject or come up with a different number. But it's the planner who usually
So they're the
There's that.
ultimate authority. They say yay or nay
Yes.
on what the number comes out.
the
Yes.
board is the ultimate authority.
Mm-hmm.
The planner does that typically with advice from maybe other people as
And
well.
the planner is Mr. Higgins?
Jim Higgins, yeah.
Okay. And is he a town employee? Or is he
No,
a contract employee?
He's a contract employee, and he's only been around for about
35 years.
a very long time.
So he's starting to settle in?
I think he's starting to understand the town.
Dennis, I will say this, for the last year and a half to 2 years, most applications haven't seen any reduction in the cost of what they have to pay for trees.
Okay.
So the last one that got anything was Toll Brothers, and since then it's been almost 100% of whatever it's supposed to be.
Okay. A little update on that, though. I know that Mr. Panic, who's the tree expert's latest report, is at the planning board, and I think the number of trees came to 2999, something like that. And he apparently has gone and looked at every single tree.
Mhm.
So God bless him. I hope he got paid by tree.
Hope so.
Are there any updates to the DoD remediation stuff on Deal Test Site?
That's a
I've
great
asked that
question.
before. No.
I haven't gotten anything.
That's a
We
good-
haven't found anything from the engineer who's been looking for it.
Ah,
We don't have anything.
okay. Is there any updates to the Army Corps of Engineers Poplar Brook stuff?
No,
No?
not yet. I
That's-
will try again and hopefully have something for the next meeting. I'll see if there's anything I can find out.
That's, I know the report is due. What? I broke it.
Did Mike go off then?
What would he do?
Is his mic on?
Yeah, he probably just hit the button.
I protest. You can't hear me.
Meeting's over.
Let the big guy take care of it. Behind it. Bottom.
I just gotta reboot.
I hear you now. Oh. Vinny's battery's dying.
I can speak louder.
Guy comes with batteries. Very impressive, Mr. Nuclears.
Well, we have some long-winded people.
We do. But some of them are up here, and these are plugged in. Oh, there he is. The
Urban chuck handle.
urban. That was it.
Who would have thought? Wasn't even close to the
Okay, we're back. Okay, Dennis.
There's a list on the, what is it, the stormwater management plan of 10 projects that are called mitigation projects. In case a developer in a certain area can't meet the guidelines, the standards that are set for stormwater runoff by locally and by the state. If they can't meet that, they might be able to mitigate that by doing one of the 10 projects that are listed in the town stormwater management program that was put out there in January of this year. I'm curious, have any of the projects on this list actually been done because a developer couldn't meet the standards?
None that I know of where they couldn't meet on-site mitigation.
Right.
So I think that's there in the event that that happens. We have a project for you. You can, mitigate your mitigate for us, and that would help
See,
their project.
the one
but
that's
that hasn't
most-
happened yet.
Most curious to me right now is the Poplar Brook one,
Yeah.
the bank remediation. So nothing's been done there at all? Okay. I think I'm done.
All right, thanks, Dennis.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Dave?
Counselor, wouldn't it be actually inappropriate to discuss litigation regardless if the person asked in question were involved with the litigation?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make that clear because the way you framed it was because Jackie was involved with it.
Well, just that she knows that she's involved in litigation, so we're not going to have them respond.
Okay. As far as the planning board process is concerned, I believe I heard, if I don't hear well as I said, someone on the council indicated you could go, or we could go to the planning board and discuss our concerns with them about what they're doing. The fact is, procedurally, and I've not been involved in township machinations since I ran for council in '95, and thank God lost. But when we go there, you'll see the new ones. When the populace, when we go there, first of all, we're considered objectors by those, and thus I think is presumptuous. Just because we're there doesn't necessarily mean we're all objectors to the variances or the requirements of the applicants. Secondly, we are not allowed, and Jackie alluded to this, we're not allowed to ask the planning board members any questions as to their feelings, edification of the various variances being required. We're only allowed to ask the experts questions specific to their expertise. It's only after the entire process is done that we're allowed to speak generally. And that's why I asked about the bylaws, because it doesn't seem to comport with logic that our comments and concerns cannot be expressed publicly and considered until all of the applicants' specialists have been put forward. That's the process.
Not true.
Okay.
Not true.
No. Let me explain this just for a second, because frankly, it does make sense. It is in part true, and what I want you to think about, and we've all watched, someone your age and my age, Perry Mason. You've watched trials. The appearance before a planning board is a quasi-judicial body, and the appearance before them is like a trial. And when you have a trial, the plaintiff or the prosecution, depending on what kind of case it is, puts on their case. They put on witnesses, and the witnesses testify, and the other side, which in this case would be you or the objectors, the term you don't like, are entitled to ask every witness questions. They're not entitled to ask the judge or the jury, what do you think about that? They don't get to do that. They ask the witness questions, and then, but they don't also at that point get to say, well, you know, that judge, that's not correct. They don't get a chance to do that. When the prosecution or plaintiff is done with their case, then the other side gets up, and they're entitled to present their witnesses, and they're entitled to make their statements. Okay, because really what's happening is when the people get up to speak, they're testifying, they're giving their opinions, their statements, and they're entitled to do that. But that's the process. First one side goes, you cross-examine their witnesses, and then the other side goes. That's how it works at trial, and that's how it works before that quasi-judicial body.
Is that process memorialized in a statewide regulation or statute?
It's a fair question. I don't know the answer. I just know that every board, I was the attorney for the Ocean Township Planning Board for 14 years. I was the attorney for the Long Branch Planning Board. I've appeared before other planning boards. That's how it always is. And it's always that way because that's the way it's supposed to be, because, again, it's a trial, in essence, before a quasi-judicial body. So one side goes. When they finish, the other side goes.
The second point is unrelated. The Asbury Park Circle, since it was brought up, the south side of the circle, facing the car wash, that side, that's Neptune, correct? And the other side is Ocean, because we have
There's three. It's Neptune, Asbury, Ocean.
I'm sorry.
It's all three border. Neptune, Asbury, Ocean.
Okay. So when they changed the circle last, they changed the line, the striping, and there's double solid with bars going across. I taught driving for a year because I needed a car, so I went with taggers. And it was cool to drive on the wrong side of the car. But you're not allowed to cross, and it's done every single day, and it's very dangerous. I go drive and come back either to Newark or Trenton virtually every single day. And when you go around that circle, you have people cutting in to make the first turn, or they cut over the lines to make the next one. And it's not ours, so to speak. I don't question the township, but I question in general why, if nothing else, I know it's not your purview, but why Neptune doesn't have a police car sitting there, as do we, so they can make a fortune ticketing people breaking that law.
I just told the manager, and I'm glad you brought that up. Every time I see that, I say I'm going to tell somebody to put a sign up there that says, do not cross solid line, because that's what they're there for. They're not supposed to cross the solid line, and to your point, everybody does it.
I would suggest in lieu of that, in knowing the average reading ability and comprehension of the general public, I might suggest, as I did online once, that there are those rubber truncheons. I don't know another term
Yeah.
for them.
Like we have them
On Deal Road.
Yeah,
I
if
think
you
they're called
put
rubber things.
rubber things. That's
Yeah,
good.
okay.
And that would preclude someone from crossing over
We'll
there.
bring it up to the state. I mean, that's really who's
They control the road.
the state.
No, I
highway,
understand
but-
it.
Yeah, I got
know,
you.
but it still has impact
Yeah.
upon us. And,
Yeah, it's a
and
pain in the neck.
our officer is just
But it-
right across the dirt.
It is. I'm sorry. It's only
That's
Neptune.
right.
Neptune and Ocean. Asbury doesn't start for 4 blocks up, but it's neither one really has control of the road. But
Why can't we just
it's
make
a
that
state.
regular intersection?
But we're someone to break the law in terms of their
Yeah,
driving.
Ocean Police or Neptune Police, on either side could absolutely write a ticket.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jackie Wenzel, 610 Deal Road. I did bring something. I made a copy for every one of you. And Hildred Woolley, another descendant of the Woolley family, had come to visit me. Obviously they see the Save 32 Acre sign, so they get involved. And this is a insert that was in the Asbury Park Press in 1978. And basically it speaks about us having already reached the crossroads of overdevelopment, and that's in 1978. And there's an interesting article that Steve Levy is, it's environmentalist, crackpots, no more. And Steve Levy is interviewed in this, who does sit on our planning board today. So anyway, I make copies for all of you. Just there's 2 articles. The rest of the paper is about to fall apart, and I promised Hildred I would get it back to her. But if anyone does have any interest in reading it, I could bring it down to the office one day. I'm still holding on to it. So anyway, I do, in closing, and I don't know if anyone else is going to get up, I do think, and before Mr. Arbor starts yelling at me again, I really feel it's a good presence for you to be there, for us to feel you're hearing and protecting, because that is a very large piece of land. I don't need to get into it again. We've gone over it many, many times, but it will very greatly impact us what happens on that corner, and to have one of you there to just see what's going on. And since we can't talk to the planning board, we've been directed to talk to you. So that's why we're doing. And if there was someone else here to talk on my behalf, I would do that, so it doesn't interfere with the lawsuit. But anyway, I'm going to pass these out.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else while she's passing that out?
Thank you, Jackie. Did you see my text? Yeah.
Okay, you state your name
Good
and address for the
evening.
record.
Olga Hanut, 26 Meadows Lane.
Say your name again.
Olga Hanut, 26 Meadows Lane. This is for the mayor and to the officials. We are at to the end of the presentation of the Deal 35 LLC, the Wawa, proposed Wawa, Chick-fil-A, the hotel. And it's going to be the opportunity for they call the objectors, but it's the taxpayers, that we are going to have the opportunity to speak. And I just want you to see if you can intercede for us with the planning board to give us the opportunity without mocking us, without interrupting us, to express our point of view. In the past, we haven't had that. We haven't been granted that, and it's our right to do that. And they had to realize that we are at a huge disadvantage compared to the applicant's attorney. We are no attorneys. We don't know all the ordinance by heart. You know, she does this for a living. She has the, I don't know how to characterize, but she's very forcible in the way that she conducts herself, and the way she treated us, and the way she instructed the board in how to deal with us. So I want you to have a voice for us, for the public, for the taxpayers, to give us the opportunity to present our point of view and to keep in mind that we are no attorneys and to treat us, with a little bit of lenience.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome. All right. Well, we want to thank you all for coming. Please, anybody else? We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Sorry.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming. We are twice a day at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. on channel 22 if you have files, 77 if you have Cablevision. Thank you, everybody. Good night.